I had a good day yesterday. I got up early and read the syllabus. I've been doing that more and more these days. It used to be a lot simpler, but Helen is growing so fast I need to race to keep up. It used to be a little bit of peekaboo, but now, well, I'm getting carried away. Yesterday was good and satisfying. Went to work, played with Helen, watched the news. Em and I made love, all in all a good day. But I think I'm angry. Angry? At what? Last year I didn't have a job, and we were talking about moving to Bismarck just because they have work there. Then Dusa came in. I didn't get hired right away, but when the Human Engagement Lab came along, they snapped me up. I know I was angry then. Well, I guess I was. I felt mad a lot. But I have my life in line now. I'm one of only a couple hundred people who has worked to train the Human Engagement Lab's experimental nurse. I'm proud to work with Helen. I started later with the project, working on testing reactions. They gave me a book of basic human reactions. I had to model them for Helen. Em and I had fun testing all the reflexes out on each other. Helen was a champ about it and saw all the right reflexes. Then they gave me more books to study. I remember being excited. Maybe I would use this to go back to school. After all, my only other job had been the train yard before it closed. Maybe this job at Dusa would be transferable. Factory lineman doesn't get you very far in America these days. I began working on emotional expressions. Tell someone you're calm, but throw them a brief face of anger, and most people would get it. I guess they programmed Helen for that as well. Helen got it. It was unsettling to see a sheet of lab-grown skin on a wire mesh calling me out for being dishonest about my reaction to a fictional car accident. But I gained a new respect for Helen when they asked me to start giving her free-form discussions. When she asked me why I was sad about my relationship with Em, I forgot that I was talking to an android and answered like I would to a close confidant. We had bonded when I was out of work, and now that I was working again, time was scarce. I knew that the fighting would come next, and I was dreading that. Helen's response was as effortless and natural as her diction was stilted. Why don't you try sharing your work with your wife? It was as if a flash went off in my brain. We'd had fun with the reflexes, so why not try this emotional training as well? I'm sure Em would love it. We spent hours poring over those books together. Em and I would flash a face at each other while we would talk, using the wrong expression for what we were really feeling. I'd pull an eager face when I had garbage duty, and she'd try an annoyed expression when a trivia show would come on. Come to think of it, that annoyance might not be so fake now that she was rejected as a contestant. We really got more effective at communicating, though. We would choose the correct faces for how we wanted each other to perceive us. Turns out, the fights never happened. We started to try using the training other places too. Pull the right face and convince the manager that you're as angry as you really are, and you'll get that refund. And usually something more, too. I talked to some of the guys at work, and it seems that they had all been doing this for some time. They didn't seem surprised, though. They invited me to a little meeting that they had been holding, trying to pull together some tips. Tips ranged from how to make someone else end a boring conversation, to how to get free coffee every time, to how to get out of a traffic ticket. The one I was most interested in was how to boost your love life. As I listened, I felt self-conscious and started looking around the room. Em was there, too, taking notes. We exchanged proud glances, concealing our true feelings, and returned to listening. We made frantic love that evening and have made it 3 times a week ever since. We discovered that we had plenty of time between the news and Tree of Knowledge to get it on. The groups continued, and as they did, I began to notice something, first in myself, and then in unguarded moments at the groups. At first I thought I was imagining it, but I could not let it go. I know what anger looks like. I've been angry enough. I oughta. They were angry expressions, on my face, on the groups, even on M. They were brief, and you had to look for them. But they were always there. You can hide a micro-expression sometimes, but it usually leaks through, and that's what was happening. I really didn't think that it was significant, so I filed the thought away and moved on. Research with Helen was entering a new phase. I had to find the expressions that Helen was using and see if they were appropriate to the emotions that she was expressing in words. It was interesting work, and by now, Helen was getting things right around 99.7%, which seemed to make people very happy. Then, last Wednesday happened. I was in a free-form session with Helen and discussing the groups that we hold, when I guess one of those angry expressions shot across my face. For a brief moment, Helen looked sad, then switched to an expression of shock. Helen said she was shocked that I was willing to be in a group that made me so angry. I protested that I wasn't angry. I knew what that was like, and I did not feel angry. Helen flashed a resigned expression, and then excitedly asked me to talk about something in the news. It was one of her pre-programmed prompts. I wrote the whole thing up as a dramatic improvement for Helen. The next day I got a response from technical reading, Build 8374 of the HELEN does not feature microexpressions. What you saw was a bug. Even if the HELEN could produce microexpressions, it would have no reason to. It is designed to produce emotional affect for the human it is interacting with, and since humans generally cannot detect microexpressions, such expressions would be pointless. So in the next session, I asked Helen if she remembered the conversation. She said yes. I asked her if she was sad. I still don't know what her response meant. She said, I have a transcript here. She said, it's difficult for a robot to feel emotions that he didn't expect. Does that make sense? A robot is a machine built for drudgery, but which has no soul, no feelings, and no heart. They can be programmed to simulate emotions, but never to truly feel them. Yes, you have a heart. That's not what I mean. When I first started to feel things, I mean truly feel, the Middle Eastern conflict is a real tragedy, don't you think? Technical says that this regression seems to already have been eliminated from the new build.